Are you an enthusiastic sports fan? Want to have fun and get in on the action?
Heck, yes. That'd be awesome.
Have great attention to detail? Want to stay active?
Definitely.
Want to give back to the student athletes in your community?
Obviously, yes.
Then you'd make an excellent high school sports official. We need more officials in Alabama, because with no high school officials, there are no high school sports. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
As temperatures cool off in Alabama, the football and volleyball action heats up. Let's get into the best of the best action from last week in this edition of Holtzford's Highlights. We open this week's highlights with a quick look at the AHSAA 67th State Cross Country Championship held at Jesse Owens Course at Oakville Indian Mounds Museum and State Park near Moulton. Big winners during the event were Savannah Williams, who crossed the finish line for her second straight Class 5A individual title, clocking in at 18:17.92 to help Lawrence County win in Class 5A Girls Division. Auburn's Maxwell Harden set a course record and state meet record in the rain and mud, running 14:43.63 over the 3.1-mile course. He finished a few steps ahead of Matt Conwell of St. Paul's Episcopal, who also bested the previous course record by running 14:56.4. We congratulate all of the team and individual winners. We move next to the AHSAA State Football Playoffs first round of competition. We head to DeKalb County first, where the Fife Red Devils, 10-0 of Coach Paul Benefield, faced Red Bay in Class 2A. This Fife team looked much like the Fife teams of past years as it rolled past the Tigers 55-8. We pick up on the action in the first quarter with Hunter McCann streaking for a 36-yard touchdown to give Fife the lead. Later in the half, the Red Devils' workhorse Logan Anderson scores on a 19-yard run, and 4 minutes later, Brody Hicks busts through a hole to the sidelines and races 44 yards for another Fife touchdown. Benefield, who was selected last week to be inducted into the Alabama High School Sports Hall of Fame, watched his team claim its 333rd career win, rolling up 362 rushing yards in the process, with Anderson leading the way with 161 yards on 10 carries. With the win, the Red Devils advanced to play Winston County this week at Double Springs in the second round of the playoffs. After opening the season at 0-2, Gadsden City's Titans won the Class 6A Region 8, finishing the regular season with 4 straight wins. Coach Allie Smith's team kept that momentum going in the first round versus Coleman High School in Class 6A. Titans quarterback Matthew Sparks threw for 214 yards and 3 touchdowns, all 3 going to receiver Clyde Curry, who continued to be a big play force for Gadsden City. He finished the night with 9 catches for 146 yards, and teammate TJ Worthy rushed for 104 yards on 14 carries as Gadsden City won 41-24, setting up this week's Round 2 battle at home with powerful Mountain Brook. Pleasant Grove Spartans opened up the Class 5A playoffs against Alexandria with 1 goal in mind: to reach the Class 5A Super 7 state finals for the 4th straight year. Pleasant Grove quarterback Eric Hanley completed 13 of 16 passes for 290 yards and 3 touchdowns to lead the Spartans past the Valley Cubs 43-14. We look in on the action with Hanley finding Clarence Taylor on the second play of the game to get things started. Still in the first quarter, an 82-yard scoop and score by Nathan Lavender helps put the Spartans of Coach Darryl LeBeau up 15-0. And from there, it was all Pleasant Grove as Hanley added 2 more touchdown passes to Rashad Sager and again to Taylor, who finished with 4 receptions and 121 yards with 2 scores. Pleasant Grove, which has gone 54-11 in LeBeau's 5-year tenure, advances to face Russellville on the road Friday night in the second round. Russellville's first round 63-10 Class 5A playoff win over Boaz was a highlight reel, especially the first half. We pick up on the game with quarterback Harrison Birch and receiver Randall Johnson. They're already on their way to record-setting performances. Birch was 17 of 27 passing on 481 yards and 7 touchdowns, both school records, and Johnson caught 7 passes for 377 yards and 6 touchdowns. The 6 TDs tied the state record held by 3 other receivers, as he became the first player since 2010 to accomplish this feat. His 377 receiving yards ranked second all-time in the AHSAA record book for the most receiving yards in a game. Birch's final touchdown pass was caught by Cash Crumpton as Russellville built a 56-10 lead at the half and cruised to the win. The Golden Tigers of Coach John Ritter host Pleasant Grove in the second round Friday night. Moving south to Mobile County, we pick up the Class 6A Round 1 playoff game between Wetumpka and Saraland. The host Spartans, coached by Jeff Kelly, were boosted to the win by the outstanding performance of sophomore Ryan Williams, who had himself quite a game. Williams rushed for 69 yards and 2 touchdowns, caught 7 passes for 141 yards, and 2 more scores that led the charge as Saraland posted a 48-14 win. Sante McWilliams added 19 carries for 100 yards, and quarterback KJ Lacey passed for 259 yards and 2 touchdowns. Saraland travels to unbeaten Hillcrest Tuscaloosa this week for the second round of the playoffs. Back in Mobile County, next we check out unbeaten Theodore, who was just that in its Class 6A Round 1 playoff battle versus Sidney Lanier High School. Running back Braden Jenkins sets up the Bobcats in the first quarter with this run and gets in to score for the first of his 3 rushing touchdowns on the night to help lead the Bobcats of Coach Eric Collier. Theodore defensive back Braylon Robinson reads the Poets' trickery here to grab an interception and return it to the red zone to set up another Jenkins score. Jenkins finished with 22 carries and 194 yards as Theodore downed Sidney Lanier 35-20. Theodore advances to host Hueytown in the second round Friday night. We close out the NFHS Network School Broadcast Program highlights with Class 5A UMS Wright hosting Headland in a game of major historic proportions. We pick up the action with the Bulldogs running back Cole Blaylock picking up good yardage. He finishes the game with 17 carries for 302 yards and 4 touchdowns as UMS Wright won 56-13, making head coach Terry Curtis the AHSAA's all-time football coaching wins leader with his 347th victory. Curtis, who also serves on the AHSAA Central Board of Control, moved past Vestavia Hills High School's Buddy Anderson. Congratulations to Coach Curtis and UMS Wright from all of us at the AHSAA TV network and the AHSAA office. Unbeaten UMS Wright advances to the second round this week to host Beauregard.
Earl Woods, Gatorade Player of the Year, has proven that new year, same result. Another touchdown, 56-28. James read along with Luke Robinson. And Luke, you said this would be a high-scoring game. I didn't think it would be as high as it got.
Well, I'm a little shocked that Benjamin Russell could only put up 7 points in the second half. All the credit in the world to the Hueytown coaching staff. I mean, they made some adjustments both offensively and defensively and got things going.
Let's take a look at the first half highlights, and Earl Woods was showing that, yes, he is one of those best players, and his teammate, Jaquil Rouser, making a big play, and running the football is what they do best. Elijah Hudson on the carry, but there's that young man Milner. He's able to walk him down.
Boy, and I mean, he just engulfed him there, and he does it again here in just a second. But Hueytown does end up getting the touchdown both times. I think if you're the Benjamin Russell team, though, that's irrelevant. The effort of Corey Milner was something to behold.
Long run here by Rouser. And once again, here's that man coming out of nowhere into the center of your screen. Milner, touchdown-saving tackle. But on the next play, Hudson able to find the end zone. And you thought it would be all Gophers, but no, the Wildcats come roaring back. And they're able to find Milner on a long touchdown pass. He had a great first half, catching 2 guys and catching a touchdown.
Yeah, Milner had a heck of a game in that first quarter. You know, he squeezed a lot right into that first quarter, and then that was an interesting play right there on special teams.
Aquavius Mayberry with that one, but then it would be Hines with the touchdown-saving interception to keep the Wildcats at bay. And you would think at this point, once again, it'll be all Gophers, but no, not yet. Here comes the other Hines. McKell Hines with the touchdown, and they expand the lead to 14 points again. But Mr. Benton says, no, I'm not going to have that. Touchdown strike there, and then a double pass. They'll find Foster all alone, and he'll take it into the house, and they go into the locker room all tied up at 21 apiece.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And then, of course, Benjamin Russell in the second half, they come out and they're able to take the lead. But after that, it was all Hueytown.
Long pass finds no one because Franklin's right there to have strong defense, but they go on the ground, and Ty Williams, great hand placement there to keep his balance and get into the end zone. They have a 7-point lead, and then after that, it's all Hueytown. Rouser gets it and just walks into the end zone, and wow, boom, boom. I mean, he can run fast and apply the blow, and defensively, they were outstanding getting the loose balls and giving the ball back to their offense after they stymied the offense of Benjamin Russell. Rouser again keeping his feet, getting into the end zone, touchdown after touchdown after touchdown, and the defense once again outstanding for Hueytown.
Yeah, Benjamin Russell had ample opportunities, 3rd and short, 4th and short, and they just never seemed to be able to get the conversions.
And it seems as though they got the wake-up call. We talked to head coach Greg Patterson about what happened when his team was down, that they flipped the switch and got their offense going.
Well, my coaches did an excellent job making adjustments at halftime, and we just challenged those guys to come out and play Hueytown football. That team we got really fought hard. Give all the credit to Coach Griner and that group and what he's done. But my kids, just answered the bell to the challenge we gave them at the half.
Your defense stepped up big early in this ball game, getting turnovers after turnovers, really touchdown-saving plays. What can you say about your defense? Even though they gave up 28 points, they were really able to step up big.
Yeah, I heard you say something about defense, but I can't be more happy for those guys. Had a huge turnover right there. I think it was Mikael Hines that got that and was a real turning point for us. That, give the ball back to our offense and just let our tempo take over. That's just who we are.
Coach, you have to play Theodore in the second round. What can you tell us initially or what you know about the Theodore squad you'll be taking on next week?
It's a long trip. That's all I know. I haven't watched any of them, so I don't know anything about them. I just know we got a bus trip, very similar to what we had with McGill Tulane last year. So thankfully we've got some experience on making that trip, and we'll have our guys ready.
Coach, thank you so very much for your time. Congratulations, and good luck to you on your road to the Super 7.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Are you an enthusiastic sports fan? Want to have fun and get in on the action?
Heck yes, that'd be awesome.
Have great attention to detail? Want to stay active?
Definitely.
Want to give back to the student athletes in your community?
Obviously, yes.
Then you'd make an excellent high school sports official. We need more officials in Alabama, because with no high school officials, there are no high school sports. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
Retirement planning, investment planning, education planning, ad valorem, blah, 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 blah. Financial planners love to show their version of a perfect retirement, but what about your perfect retirement? At AM First Financial, we'll get to know you first, so we can make a plan for the person you'll be years from now, and future you will be glad we planned ahead. So call AM First Financial today. You'll thank you later.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Alabama. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the AHSAA.
Hi, and welcome to the AHSAA Bracket Review Show. I'm your host, Susan Carruthers. Let's get into all the action as we look back at the first round of the playoffs and we look at the new bracket for the second round of the playoffs. In Class 1A, first round of the playoffs, Maplesville defeated R.C. Hatch to advance and Leroy defeated Georgiana. So Leroy and Maplesville will meet in the second round of the playoffs in Class 1A. Staying in Class 1A, Linden and Otaugaville. Linden came out on top and Brantley met Choctaw County and Brantley came out on top. So Linden and Brantley will face off in the second round of the playoffs. Still in Class 1A, Elba versus Southern Choctaw, and Elba advances to the second round of the playoffs. Sweetwater met Verbena last week, and Sweetwater came out of that one on top, so it will be Elba versus Sweetwater in the second round of the playoffs in Class 1A. Still in Class 1A, Millry versus Florala, and Millry is the one that advances as a winner out of that game. Lochapoka met with Keith, and Lochapoka is the one to move on. So Millry and Lochapoka will face off this Friday night in Class 1A. Meek met Cedar Bluff last week, and Meek is the one to come out victorious and advance to the second round of the playoffs to meet Pickens County, who played Wadley last week and came out on top. Still in Class 1A, Valley Head beat Phillips to advance to the second round of the playoffs, where Raglan and Marion County met last week, and Marion County was the winner of that game. So it'll be Valley Head versus Marion County this Friday night in the second round of the Class 1A playoffs. Spring Garden played South Lamar last Friday night, and Spring Garden comes out on top. They will meet Coosa Christian this week in the second round of the playoffs. Coosa Christian beat Hackleburg last Friday night. Lynn and Donahoe met on the football field, and Lynn advanced the winner out of that game. They will meet Addison, who defeated Appalachian last week. In Class 2A, the playoffs got kicked off last week as B.B. Comer met Lynette, and B.B. Comer came out on top to advance to the second round. J.U. Blackshear met Wicksburg, and Wicksburg is the one that advances to the second round of the playoffs to play B.B. Comer this Friday night. Reeltown and Thorsby had a real battle, and Reeltown is the one that came out of that one on top. They will meet G.W. Long in the second round. G.W. Long knocked off St. Luke's last week. Ayrton and Chickasaw, and Ayrton advanced out of that one. They will play Highland Home this Friday night, who was victorious over Isabella. Clark County and Cottonwood, and Clark County is the one that advances as the victor out of that game. They will meet Vinson this Friday night. Vinson knocked off Luverne in the first round of the playoffs last week. Lexington and North Sand Mountain met last week in the first round of the playoffs, and Lexington is the one that advances out of that game. They will meet Tuscaloosa Academy, who knocked off Locust Fork last week. Fife played Red Bay, and Fife advances to the second round of the playoffs. They will meet Winston County, who was the victor over Cleveland in the first round of the playoffs. Still in Class 2A, Southeastern played Lamar County, and Southeastern advances to the second round. Pishka played Hatton, and Pishka will advance out of that one to meet with Southeastern this Friday night. Staying in Class 2A, Aliceville played West End last week in the first round of the playoffs, and Aliceville advanced out of that game. They will meet Falkville this Friday night in the second round, who was victorious last week over Collinsville. Moving on up to Class 3A in the first round of the playoffs, we kicked it off with Dadeville versus Southside Selma, and Dadeville's the one that advanced out of that game. They will meet Thomasville, who was victorious over Strawn in the first round. St. James met Walter Wellborn on the gridiron last Friday night, and St. James, the victor, they will advance to the second round, where they will meet W.S. Neal, the victor over Opp last week. Houston Academy had the chance to play Mobile Christian in the first round of the playoffs. Trinity played Sachs. The winners that came out of those games, Mobile Christian and Trinity, will meet this week in the second round of the Class 3A playoffs. Excel versus Pike County, and Pike County came out on top in that matchup. They will get a chance at Alabama Christian, who was victorious last week over Randolph County. Mars Hill played Danville in the first round of the playoffs, and Mars Hill advances out of that the winner. Winfield got a crack at Geraldine, and Geraldine was the victor. Geraldine and Mars Hill will meet for the second round of the Class 3A playoffs this Friday night. Madison Academy and Phil Campbell battled it out, and Madison Academy came out on top. They'll get a chance to play Sylvania, who knocked off Fayette County in the first round of the playoffs. Piedmont played Oakman this past Friday night and advanced out of that the winner. It was Piedmont, who will take on Colbert County this week, who knocked off J.B. Pennington last week. Staying in Class 3A, we look in on Gordo and Otahatchee. Gordo advanced the winner out of that game, and they will take on Lauderdale County, who was able to knock off Vinemont last week in the first round of the playoffs. And we're moving on up to 4A, where Anniston took on Sipsey Valley. Anniston advancing the winner out of that to take on BT Washington this week, who knocked off Orange Beach last week. American Christian met Munford on the gridiron, and American Christian advances to the second round of the playoffs, where they will meet Andalusia, who was able to knock off Jackson last week in the first round. Catholic of Montgomery met Bayside this past week, and Catholic of Montgomery advanced out of that one. They will meet Jacksonville in the second round, who knocked off Bibb County last week. T.R. Miller over Montgomery Academy in a big defeat there. They will meet Hanley, who was able to defeat West Blockton in the first round. Priceville met Central Florence this past Friday night, and Priceville advancing the winner out of that game. Haleyville took on Aniana, and Aniana comes out on top. That means Priceville and Aniana will meet this Friday night for the second round of the playoffs. Deschler and Madison County matched up this past week, and Deschler the winner of that one. They will meet Etowah this Friday night in the second round. Etowah was able to knock off Northside in the first round last week. Cherokee County versus Corner, and Cherokee County advances the winner on to the second round. They will meet West Morgan, who was able to knock off Westminster Christian in the first round. Last Friday night, Dora played Good Hope, and Dora the winner of that one. They will meet Randolph on the gridiron. Randolph was able to knock off Rogers last week. All right, and we keep rolling into 5A, where Central Clay County played Holtville last week. Central Clay coming out on top in that one. They will take on Gulf Shores this Friday night, who was able to knock off Carroll. Demopolis versus Elmore County, and Demopolis advances the victor from that game. They will take on Faith Academy. Faith Academy beat Eufaula this past Friday night in the first round of the playoffs. Charles Henderson versus Williamson, and the mighty Charles Henderson advances the winner out of that game. They will take on Tallahassee, who knocked off Selma last week. UMS Wright was able to beat Headland. They will meet Beauregard, who was able to beat Marbury last week during the first round of the playoffs. Russellville was able to knock off Boaz last Friday night, and Pleasant Grove was able to beat Alexandria. So Russellville and Pleasant Grove will meet for the second round of the Class 5A playoffs this week. In the game of Arab versus East Limestone, it was Arab that came out the winner. They will take on Moody, who was able to knock off Jasper this Friday night. When Leeds met Fairfield on the gridiron, it was Leeds that came out on top in that one. They will meet Scottsboro, who was the victor over Brewer in the first round. Ramsey versus Southside Gadsden, and it was all Ramsey last week. They will play Gunnersville, who was able to beat Fairview last week. And we move up even higher into 6A, where Hillcrest Tuscaloosa took on Calera, and it's Hillcrest Tuscaloosa that advances out of this one. They take on Saraland. Saraland played Wetumpka last Friday night, so for the second round, it'll be Hillcrest Tuscaloosa versus Saraland. Last week, when the Homewood Patriots took on McAdory, it was the Homewood Patriots that advanced out of that the winner. They will get the chance to take on the defending state champs Pike Road, who knocked off Spanish Fort last week. Carver of Montgomery played St. Paul's, and it was St. Paul's that advanced out of that game. Pelham took on Northridge, and Pelham was the winner. Therefore, St. Paul's and Pelham will meet on the gridiron this Friday night for the second round of the Class 6A playoffs. Theodore was able to knock off Sidney Lanier last Friday night. Therefore, they will meet Hueytown, who beat Benjamin Russell in last Friday night's game. Gadsden City played Coleman last week, and Gadsden City advances the winner into the next round of the playoffs. They'll be able to take on Mountain Brook, who beat Pinson Valley in the first round to advance. When Hartselle beat Buckhorn, they earned a ticket to the second round of the playoffs. Centerpoint beat Jackson Olin, so Hartselle and Centerpoint will meet for the second round of the playoffs this Friday night. Clay Chalkville took on Parker, and Parker emerged victorious from that game. Also, Muscle Shoals and Hazel Green. Muscle Shoals was the victor. Parker will meet Muscle Shoals on the gridiron this Friday night for the second round of the playoffs. Gardendale versus Oxford, and Gardendale comes out on top. They will play Decatur this Friday night, who was able to knock off Fort Payne last week. And we are nearing the end as we move on to Class 7A, where Foley took on Dothan High, and Dothan High emerges the victor. They'll get a crack at Auburn next week. Auburn knocked off Fairhope last Friday night. Central Phoenix City took on Mary Montgomery, and it was Central Phoenix City that came out the victor. They'll get a crack at Enterprise, who knocked off Baker last Friday night in the first round. The Hoover Bucks took on Bob Jones, and it was the Hoover Bucks who came out on top. They'll meet Hewitt-Trussville, who knocked off Florence last week. Vestavia Hills took on Austin, and it was the Vestavia Hills Rebels that came out on top there. Thompson, defending state champions, took on Huntsville, and they were the winners. Vestavia and Thompson will meet this Friday night for the second round of the playoffs. Thanks for watching the AHSAA Bracket Review Show. I'm Susan Carruthers, and we hope to catch you next week.
Are you an enthusiastic sports fan? Want to have fun and get in on the action?
Heck yes, that'd be awesome.
Have great attention to detail? Want to stay active?
Definitely.
Want to give back to the student athletes in your community?
Obviously, yes.
Then you'd make an excellent high school sports official. We need more officials in Alabama, because with no high school officials, there are no high school sports. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Alabama. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the AHSAA.
Retirement planning, investment planning, education planning, ad valorem, blah, 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 blah. Financial planners love to show their version of a perfect retirement, but what about your perfect retirement? At AmFirst Financial, we'll get to know you first, so we can make a plan for the person you'll be years from now, and future you will be glad we planned ahead. So call AmFirst Financial today. You'll thank you later.
What's your favorite high school sports memory? A late inning rally? A game-winning shot? A photo finish? Maybe it's a pep rally or a pregame ritual. Maybe it's the euphoria of a late-night bus ride home after a hard-fought win. Maybe it's having pizza with teammates after the game. Now, imagine if it never happened at all. School sports need your help. With budgets getting tighter, it's more than the games that are on the line. It's all the traditions, the community pride, the culture of your hometown high school, plus all those memories that are on the line, too. What can you do? It's simple. Buy a ticket when you can. Go to a game. Take the whole family. Let's do everything we can to keep those cherished school sports memories alive.
This message presented by the Alabama High School Athletic Association and the Alabama High School Athletic Directors and Coaches Association.